Okay. Um, I called right before I called the FBI. Well, I called the hotline. It took him about 2 days for Agent named Wilco to call me back. And I was so scared I curled up in a ball. And then one girl in the mall, I told her, I said, if I report that they're putting threats on me, would you be willing to talk to someone? She said yes, and verify my story. Well, he had called 2 days later, left his phone number. I had left his phone number with her. My oldest son, John, knew about the churches taking up the 25,000, and Dave held me down for 30 minutes. I love you, but I love her more. I'm so sorry, Karen. You have to die for her. It's the only way we can have everything. For 30 minutes, he held me down, rubbing my head, kissing me on the cheek. I have a man to slit your throat or to stab you in the heart. I'm so sorry, Karen. You'll bleed out. But if you try to run for it, I have a man to put a bullet in you. He wasn't lying. And he held me down for 30 minutes. I was afraid if I moved, he'd kill me with his own bare hands. Later on, he tried to say it was a vivid dream. It was no vivid dream. It was very much. I had told my oldest what his dad did. I got him verifying before I called the FBI. Well, I called the hotline that agent had called and left his phone number. I gave that phone number. I just said to that girl that they were, if they ask you if they're threatening me, will you tell them? I wouldn't tell her the other part. Before I even called them back. And when I did call him back, the night before I called him back, there was a man that went to Paul Paymer's Apostolic Church of Barberton. And Paul Paymer the minister got into his face, my God, I had an FBI agent in the office, he's right there. And he's screaming at him in that big vestibule in front of about 7,500 people. And I walk in, he's got black hair, dark eyes, black glasses, 30s. He looks sort of like Judge Timothy, 30. I forgot when I called that agent back, I was crying so hard I could hardly breathe. But the guy told on me. They checked. The response was that ass actually told on her. They said he's part of a lot of this. So, he had asked me to remain quiet while they just investigate. And then everything, when it's over, he'd wipe it back to the traffic ticket. Well, you can't ask me to stay quiet. You already told the bad guys. I wasn't putting it together because I was too upset. People were all for me at first. And then all of a sudden they start talking about this young blonde girl named Michelle. And they, how pretty she is. And an agent came up to me. People got paid off up here. Remember the truth that tried to implant lies. They'll try to steal everything you have in life. And they're so corrupt they'd even try to steal a settlement. Remember, Karen. I'm just horrified because people are harassing me now instead of helping. And strangers even had to step in. Walmart 62, cesspool between 10 of 18 and 3 of 19, 6 stalkers chased off. Grabbed and arrested. People making beeline. Matter of fact, the first day I called the FBI, a guy was a beeline across the parking lot, gets right behind me. They were afraid he had a knife in his hand the way he was standing. And the guy surrounded me and he took off. It was quite horrifying there for a while. One morning, Dave knew I was leaving early, and the undercover police were working security in the courthouse. And they're not the promptest guys, but they come racing to your rescue. I got on 62, van pulls up. I look over, and there's a gun pointed at my head, and the guy's pulling the trigger back. And I slam on the brakes, and I tucked my head a split second saved my life. I swerve and he goes forward, I go back. And I'm crying like crazy, and I have to get myself together and run over to see John. And I'm trying to get myself together, and I'm walking around. He's walking his dog Gus, and his Gus is eating the leash. He's talking to me about going to church, and I'm like, I don't like churches. And then he's looking at me like I'm crazy. And I want to scream, somebody almost just shot me. And I didn't. Man, he's walking around. I'm walking around, I'm pacing, and I just want to scream and fall to my knees. And he's like, well, Mom, do you ever consider the storage of? It's like, oh, somebody should just beam that man on the rock of the head and put him out of his misery. He's looking at me like I'm nuts. He's like, well, what about your life, Mom? It's like, my wife's life's worth a 25-cent bullet. Dave did reloading. You know, it was like saying a 25-cent bubblegum in my family. And he's looking at me like I'm nuts. And I mean, I've never heard anybody in my family, not John, Josh, or Dan, or any of the 10. And by then, Dave was already caught, and I had called that agent back, and I got his secretary. Dave was outside on the phone. He never knew I knew. Dixie and the baby are next. We'll teach Josh a lesson for letting her down there. He's so angry he cut his hands off so he couldn't work, and for there's a list. And we'll move on to who we want next. I'm standing there horrified. He never knew I knew. I called and I left a message for the agent secretary. And the guys would follow me to 224, and I go the back way home. And I drive the last 10-15 miles home. And one time that guy that Dave hired that I seen was walking down the road not too far from my house. He seen me, looked about as shocked as I did. Took off through the side woods, and I left another message for his secretary that I seen the guy. And they, let's see what else happened. Dixie's vehicle started getting tampered with. Lug nuts taken off, tires slashed, loosened, tires being flattened. They had a weird car fire, backfire, slow smoke, and his whole engine blew up. He barely made it out alive. I was trying to get them caught so my children wouldn't die. And it was horrifying. One time I found out if Dave didn't know where I was sick. And the church people. So I didn't answer my phone. He was so angry, chicken winged my arm, knocked me into a railing, and punched me twice in my stomach. I have permanent inflammation. I have a scope of it. I have an emergency report a few days later. I'm in so much pain that I had to go down to the emergency room, and they had to mix up stuff with Novocaine and other things, trying to take the pain out of my stomach. He admits it on my phone of beating me for not answering my phone. Is he in jail? No. Even with me reporting it, what was it, 8-9 months ago? They will not, nothing. Let's see. By Thanksgiving, we're all together, and John comes in, and the kids are eating, and they go downstairs, and the girls are playing Boo. They're taking each one of us down to go Boo. And it, my turn to go down. I don't even hardly get off the steps, and they yell Boo. And, on the third step up, we hate Grandma. I'm like, how could you hate Grandma? The house wasn't meant for her. It was meant for Auntie Shell and Papa, and she needs to get out. And I'm like, I step back down there, all three in a huddle, talking crazy crap. I go up and sit by Dixie. Floor comes running up. They're saying mean things in the basement. She's like, stay out of it. I go up to John. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, I don't know. Melissa's going to have him make up something because of the divorce. I told him you're moving out, and she'll probably have the church people make up something too. So, he didn't care to even go check. He's like, it can't be anything bad, but she'll just have him say something. It's like, that's not okay. He dismisses it really quick. My whole family's sitting there while I'm watching it. So, between then and the end of December, I get up, I gotta go to the refrigerator, someone stabs me in the neck. I wake up 6 hours later, my hair's missing, the rest of it straight up. I have a dent in the back of my skull. Dave accuses me of having an affair, and I didn't know what happened. Down at Walmart 62, like I said, it's a cesspool between 10 of 18 and 3 of 19. They show up with cell phones. We implanted a neural chip. And I'm like, you're crazy. No, they did. I have a CT of it under Diet Mercy Medical Radiology, 3/13, 2:53 p.m. I go down where I got swelling in the base of my head, pulling. They show up and take responsibility underneath the case's name, Karen's Will. It was Karen's Craig after my brother-in-law that died. And they changed it to Karen's Will after the agent and the state case was Karen around the house because the police take care of me around the house. Supposed to be a protected person in the state. Didn't work out well. Well, Dave and I talk about everything. Then I get witnesses that everybody was fine, even when I watched him like 6-7 years ago. And that we've been on video chatting all day. And that he knew they left fine. Melissa even asked me to babysit in August of 17 when her parents moved to Florida. And I told her no because I had Dan and Ty, and sometimes Crystal and Flora. You add 3 or 4 more on top of them. I'm one person. Dave's like, you'd have to get a school bus. The school bus wheels go round and round. He's making jokes at me. I'm like, that's just too much. Plus, they always fight and break up. I went in the middle of it. So I turned him down. We were Facebook friends. We messaged each other. So by Christmas, what all had happened? Right before Christmas, no, I'd already almost been shot driving. Oh, and then before Christmas, before December 9th, I'm in Wendy's in Maslin. Some agents are there, a lot of them. Give your jewelry back, give all your jewelry back. I mean it, give it all back. And they're yelling at me in the restaurant under tape and audio. And I'm like, looking at him, you heard us. I said, give it back. And I thought, I could give him one ring back to cover the cost of $5,000 to $7,000. But there's a hit on a brand new baby. So I thought if I give it back, maybe they'd stop. They never stop. Never stop. I told them I didn't want any more. They'd stop. They never stop. So, it'll be right before Christmas of 18. Dave was acting weird. He wouldn't leave. We lived 15, 20 miles from Walmart. Lived in that giant woods. You couldn't even see the house from the road. We had to look for the yellow sign if we had the lights off. You can't even see it from the road. Cased with 200-foot trees and a giant woods across the street. There's no street lights. And not even a house across the road. You can't even see it. So, his phone starts clicking in like someone's calling. No, the FBI has my house bugged. Guys say stuff to me all the time. And they walk by. I hear gunfire. I look out the windows, the side light, duplex on the other side of the house, the lights on. He says something crazy, stupid. I look back. I'm like, I should call the police. I heard gunfire. I don't have to call the police. He's listening. I look up front. The green laser light crosses from a gun crosses my eyes. I duck. I look out back. There's lights crossing. I'm surrounded. And I'm like, I should call the police. I heard gunfire. Don't you get off this phone. I can't tell them I know there. I can't get my car. I can't take off driving. I can't run to the male nurse's house. I'm trapped. And I keep saying it, and I know they can hear me. I go load a 9mm gun in several clips. And I'm thinking where to hide. I look out the front window across my eyes again. I duck. He's still rambling crazy stuff. My brother-in-law that was a private consultant for the FBI and restricted war weapons for monitors and monitors. The government can see it through the TV. I turned on the TV. I'm like, you guys hear me? I know you see me. Sat on the floor position between the two doors. If they broke through, I could take them out. Not the best shot, but I can shoot. And then I had like 3 clips sitting beside me plus the one in my gun. And as he's rambling, I'm waiting, and the second set of gunfire goes off and it explodes in my head, and I throw that phone and I begin to pray. And as I begin to pray, moonlight fills the room. Like God heard me. And I sat in the dark and prayed and cried for help that never came. You got home. You went to the wrong house. We know. She's nothing but target practice. She's up to something. We've seen her through a monitor. That figures. We shot it. Next time we'll come up and kill her. Take care of it once and for all. We shot a man that was sleeping when we finished him off in the back room. And there's one part I never mentioned. I try not to. When they said that they shot at a man running, they actually said they shot the man in the head that was running. And we're going to say it was a neighbor did it by mistake. And I'm like, don't think. Nobody showed up. Don't think. Laid in bed, don't think. Next morning, we get in a big fight. I hit that wall, and I'm booking it through the backwoods and out of the male nurse's house. A man with a black beard tries to grab me. Dave comes running up behind me. You have an affair? I swirl around. I'm like, I've never seen him before. He passes me, and I turn back around, and he's like, I gotta check the trail cameras to find out how he made it out in the dark. And he takes off running. And I'm like, you. And I'm thinking of everything I heard. The guy's gone. I look over at the duplex where men were staying. They're gone, and they never came back. I picked up a stick and I started swearing. I was so pissed. I told the guys when I was alone when it happened. They had my cars bugged, my house is bugged. Nobody did anything. I had men show up at Walmart at the register. We stayed out of the gunshot night because Dave's girlfriend's so much party on that guy running it. Didn't blame us because she's so adorable. And an idiot. There were 2 African American men with dreadlocks. Then there is a white hair guy with a mustache that makes fun of me too. And then if they go to Wood Forest when I do a night drop, there's a white hair guy with blue eyes. 40 to 50. Right behind me. Talking to someone. I'm part of the 25,000 strange hideaway. I want to see her. Comes out around me. I could hear him. The guys are way off in the distance. He smiles at me and I'm looking at him like he's crazy. And he walks over. They should go get him. If they want to. People were up and complaining that they want to pull me out ever since I almost got shot driving the guy running it. Won't let him. Under tape and audio. Even by register. They even brag after they did the neurochip by the TVs where they would planted it. They're complaining like crazy, even after the gunshot night. You can't leave her up there for something bad to happen. You'll get in trouble if you pull her out. One guy's like, I'll hide her in my house if somebody else happens. I don't care anymore. You can't let this happen. A few weeks later, in a foot of snow, as big as a lifted truck and as high as a first-story building, I'm in the truck with Dave. There's a single man with a pitchfork burning everything in a foot of snow. We had trash pickup. Guys would normally have had a bonfire. What would you burn that big? In a foot of snow. Dave got cocky a few days later. Karen, you don't realize. You die in my choosing. And I'd walk home. He would do stunts like come in and grab my face and squeeze it till the whole side was black. Pop me in the ribs. Good luck finding a guy who wouldn't hit you in the ribs. I told him there's good men out there that don't hit women and they're worth waiting for. Get out of my room. Before that, he had sexually assaulted me, acted like he couldn't make love to me. Stopped and then shoved his whole hand up my behind and displaced a blood vessel. I could hardly clean up. Some dirty agents showed up at Liberty Health Share on Fulton Road when I moved out, were making fun of me, where people could hear through the wall. What he did. The arrogant ass ripped her a new one. I could have ripped his hands off his body. Did they arrest him? An agent came up to me and said, Melissa's so stupid. She made up everything when you were fishing with Dave. She's actually that stupid. She didn't check where you were. Her first lie is they picked out a night gun I didn't know 6 years ago and said they seen your butt. The second lie is you're weird with yourself in the bathroom and they're looking through a cracked bathroom door and I'm outside drinking water with Jen. And the third lie, they'll make up something, call you a bad name. And in between them, they told people I've vandalized their church, I was racist, I hated crippled people, shot up a home and killed someone, that's Dave. And I broke in a home and tied my arms and legs to a chair, knocked it over, kicked it over, and jumped out a window. I'm like, you're crazy. Well, in between that, I was having break-ins and I'd have marks on me. And agents come up, we always knew you're innocent, you tell someone you're arrested and threaten me. I'm like, who the hell are you? You know what I mean? It's just, you can't break in and stick someone with a needle. And they kept saying, before what? And they kept saying, it's funny she doesn't know. It's funny she doesn't know. What? Where the fuck is any of this funny? And everybody's talking about the beautiful Michelle. Memorial Day weekend 2019, I go to buy cheesecakes for Amy and my neighbor, old neighbor Keith. A white woman with an African-American man standing by the register. For it is my daughter that her husband dates. He met her in Ravenna when she was having a stomach spell. And it was for my daughter they did all this for. And who's Karen's rich boyfriend but the state of Ohio that protects her? They found her. Heard it's Michelle's mother. Well, there was 600,000 in assets, 250 life, 125 life, 200 plus home, 18,000 in jewelry, retirement fund. There's over 600,000 in assets set her up for life. Little 20-year-old kid with a 60s plus man, probably wouldn't live another 10. Yeah, she'd be set for life. I moved out, and a lady had a little boy run in front of me. Can we have Karen now? Not now. The men are done with her after what happened to Daddy. I'm like, my God, is he one of the ones they killed? Because on the gunshot afterwards, the men came up to me as they broke through the doors. They scattered. One ran by the house to grab me. As he ran by the house to grab me, they realized they went to the wrong house. And they surrounded mine. They chased him through the backwoods, shooting at him till he made it to a neighbor's where he called the police and I could hear sirens in the distance. As the gunfire went off. And a few minutes later, the second man said he was hiding behind the fence and witnessed Dave with the men with the guns. The guy described was it. And two other men said they'd seen him too. And they've shut up down here. And that one lady's family follows me, harassing me. I can't fix it. A man showed up in a wheelchair. Said he got crippled over this. Another man said his son died. Guys walked by me. Did you hear what happened to Cameron? And for what happened to Cameron? I've never heard that one. Only talked to him one time on the phone. No agent showed up and showed their badge. Asked to talk to me about anything. Where they were saying before. Well, it came out this year. right before May 25th. Little old lady in town, where they were telling everybody what they did. She screamed it for the neighborhood to hear. The church people aren't funny, breaking in before, drugging her with like a roofie drug, an amnesia drug, and telling her to say she's some kind of weird molester before. It's not funny, and taping it. They had to wait for me to take the puppies out of the room or go to the bathroom myself and slip in the back and put something in my drink and then do it. They leave a Steve, Eric, Kurt, Chris, and Mark. And I don't know these people. May 25th, Louisville in town, where that lady screamed it out. They were talking about how not funny the church people were. The neighbor actually stated what the church people did about breaking in and drugging her and telling her to say she's some kind of weirdo molester before. It's not funny what they did. It's a 20-year sentence. Because how you got it is what put you in jail. FBI agents don't drug people. They break the law. Department of Justice. For every civil right is 1 to 10 years. Then it's drug and kidnapping charges and obstruction to justice. And plus they got the crazy crap, whatever they said. And even the people across from Jim's. It's not funny. They gave her an amnesia drug, told her to say all kinds of gay, sick stuff. And she doesn't know because they gave her an amnesia drug. I'm like, oh my God. All I have to do is hear from other people what they did to me because they gave me drugs. I may have a septal infract in my heart from it. They can't. I've never been questioned by an agent. I've never had one knock on my door or an officer and show their badge and say, I'd like to talk to you, read my Miranda rights. Nobody did. They can't break in and stick you with a needle. Let alone they got back put out with the crazy crap. They even outlawed neurochips in 2005. U.S. Supreme Court, 11th Circuit, 18-10134. Put 33 CIA handlers and other government agents in jail for 20 years. Justice for victims of torture and terrorism Act came in play. Well, I made a copy of my phone and the witnesses thereof because Dave break to Dixie. There was gunfire up here the other night, close to Christmas. She's like, gunfire? I live in a woods, you'll have a tree. She's like, gunfire. They went to the wrong house. She's like, wrong house. And she looks at me dead in the eye. She's nothing but target practice. Took both her breath away. She cried till she passed out. She has a permanent scar under her chin. She was crying so hard. She almost took too many pills one day. I told her she wasn't allowed to cry over what he said to me. And she's got medication, she got counseling because Josh thought it was just that he threatened to have the police arrest him. And she was overreacting and made her be friends with him. And now that he knows what happened, he won't let me down there because he's afraid for his family and won't tell his daddy knows. You know, I've had people walk up. All their evidence was illegally obtained and cannot be used. No, you can't do any of this. And you can't have agents do it for you. Because if you do, you go to jail and so do they. Excuse me. And, not only they get the crazy crap with the drug, what the church people put in before. They can't just drug you. It's not Soviet Russia. It's not China. It's not Afghanistan. This is the United States of America. Our nation was founded on freedoms and civil rights. The government couldn't hurt its people. I had bought a prepaid phone, made a whole copy of my phone and video statement. Was going to send it in at 1239 North Chapel in the middle of the night a few weeks before that. I heard there were several cars sitting outside, a man and a woman screaming, you can't beat a single woman by herself. She talks too much to herself about what happened. We can't have her state what happened up there. I thought they were trying to scare me. No, beat, rape, torture. Some other till I was passed out, set her up, drugged me. And when I still said no, they started again until they beat me till my neighbor heard the bangs. I was bruised up and down my arm, my face, my private area from them punching me there. Agent involved. Had women come up and tell me tape glitch for hours. She woke up with bruises. Nobody knows why. They lied to me because the agents sold the login. They came out to me and said the agents are selling the login for money. People at all these different places up to 50 miles around. I kept timestamp receipts and videos of people knowing the case to prove they sold the login. And over 20 people said they seen the rape, including who was in the room. The agent involved followed me to Macy's, followed me to my church in front of 1,000 people, threatened to arrest me. The guy in my church got in his face. What you did was considered rape. You leave her alone. Barry Jesus working between July and September 1st of 19. 4 women heavy set in the main room. He said if you open your mouth again, he'll do it to you again. Warned to stay quiet. October 23rd, 2019, where they said Melissa to have somebody make something up. Well, I thought it was all over the crazy crap. Well, before that, 9/19/19 was at my divorce. The undercover police where they followed me around. Did a cute skit with the 2 judges for you had us look into it. You knew she couldn't handle it, and you knew she appreciated us doing it. And you could find she did nothing wrong. Judge Pete walks by. Judge Timothy comes in laughing. We're ready to begin. Innocent in the courts of Ravenna. And Liberty House Share, Hills and Dales Road, June of 19. It's either North Canton Place or Jackson Place or working security. Under tape and audio in front of staff. The only thing you ever did wrong, honey, is you bent over him properly. We can wipe that one out. Let me get the door for you laughing. October 23rd, 2019. Flora finally states it. The house, when I'm talking about the house, wasn't meant for Brent, was meant for Auntie Shaw and Pablo. That's not what they said. She's very sassy. She's 7. She said, they said this, and it's very filthy about assaulting one of them. And Josh is like, ew, don't say that again. It's not true. She starts laughing. She said, of course it's not true. Of course it never happened. We made it up. It was a game of pretend. And she's laughing about how it's this mean game of pretend that never happened. And she's laughing so hard, she sits down beside me like this. And she can't quit laughing. She's 7. Make something up and call me a bad word. That's why all the agents, for we all know this woman's innocent. Now they're running around. Now, we drugged you, we kidnapped you, we told you what to say. We're going to get money out of it. We're going to get money to that family for lying and having you kidnapped. For that goes to that church, they took up 25 grand to have you murdered and your other son and his daughter and his wife. No, they won't. I'll publicly shame him. It was bad enough they were doing it for one of their agent's daughters. They will not give giggling, lying children money that went to an occult that made up a mean lie. And it was so premeditated that they had people roofing me before and telling me to say crazy crap and think they're going to use it against me. And when I don't even know what's on that tape, and I never met these people. Nor have I met Will or any of the other agents may say their name when they walked around me in stores. But I don't know them. I never had them in my house. No one ever came talk to me, and no officer did either. So if they paid off an agent to stick me with their needle, I'll tell you what, that agent lost its badge because every civil right broke 1 to 10 years, and it's 20 for kidnapping and drug charges because that's the way the law looks at it. And you victimized one of their victims they were trying to murder you. Now you're trying to extort money out of it over my dead body. I documented me game of pretending yet that I knew nothing about. And it was for Auntie Shaw and Papa to get everything. And what's ironic, I went to turn in the CD to the White House. I had looked at Dave's profile. He's with an old ugly woman of his face. I start laughing. A beautiful blonde girl, 21, 22, with blue eyes, walks by me. There's like 3 cars of guys waiting for her. She walks in the post office. They look at me. She wants to kill him for this. That was Michelle, wasn't it? He used her and her dirty friends and betrayed her. That's it. Now I'm being harassed day and night. They call hospitals. They call doctors. They badmouth me on being kidnapped and drugged by an occult. People trying to extort money like maggots out of victims that have been raped and tortured. Out of almost being murdered and their own families and other people being in wheelchairs and hurt. They're maggots that think they can feed off of wounded, hurt victims. They will not give those people money for lying and pretending and laughing. I will shame them across the world. They turned on their informant in Boston and let some guy get away with 17 murders. What the hell? You can't do this. Senator Scheuring, I called his office. Had a man look into it. Even there was a man outside Mercy Medical where I got the CD of the CAT scan with dye where you can see the cut wires and edges. Was talking to some on the phone. I know what you did to her and you leave her alone. Well, I got back a hold of Senator Scheuring's office. The FBI did a lot of crimes against me. We know. If they won't fix it, turn on the police. So I go down to Stark County Sheriff's. At this point, sorry, there's a bug. At this point, report it to the Inspector General, blow him up till he shows up. I'm blowing him up every day. And I'm trying to get in the witness protection program, but I got that chip in my head and I can be tracked and they make fun of me for the chip in front of people. I went down to pay my landlord about a week ago. One of those idiots from Michelle were down there. Yelled out across the street, we know it was for Michelle to get everything was. He's like looking at him like this. I looked at him and said, my ex was dating an agent's daughter named Michelle, but he scorned her. Got what he wanted. Went out with a woman of his face. See her? And he's like, those people got in their vehicles and took off. It's not so funny, is it? And if they think they're going to get a dime off of anything. Oh, and where they were breaking in and roofing me, you know what else they did? They set up tiny cameras watching me in my home. It's a felony too. Spying on somebody with tiny cameras. You don't get a court order. Police and I have to do it. Well, police weren't called till I called the FBI. And I guess I wiped some toxic water off that was running because it was full of iron bacteria, iron gas, and so acidic it was on levels. There's times you could take a bath in it. If it was still orange, it matters how much bleach was in it in the dispenser. But that's just a reaction. And then they try to act like I was being weird. It's like a bathing suit. You pull it out of your butt, your crotch. Guys, just the front area. You wipe. People pull out wedgies. They looked into it. It's considered adjusting yourself. You didn't expose yourself. You're good. But they're that extremist. And they think they're going to give them money instead of putting them in jail. I'll shame them across the world. Because there's a list of people that are going to do it too. And my 2-year-old granddaughter is on that list and she will die if they are not stopped.